happened at the end of the Earth? Well, over 1,000 years ago, the Mayas, with an extremely accurate calendar, knew what was going to happen in 2012. They were able to predict 1,300 years into the future that on December 21st, 2012, well, actually, they didn't predict anything would happen. Sorry. This is probably as good an explanation as anything. But yeah, it does make some kind of sense, and what I want to do is use this to talk about why that's an important date in the Maya calendar. Because the Mayas and the other people in what we call Mesoamerica devised a number of calendars that were very accurate, and by explaining these, we can see a little bit why this date of 2012 came up and why they thought it might be an important reason, although not because the world was going to explode. Mesoamerica is the area that includes Mexico, Central America, and lots of cultures. And I'll be talking about the Maya, which is where the 2012 prediction comes from, and the Aztecs. They were quite a bit later than the Maya. Maya collapsed around 800 AD. And the Aztecs were going when the Spaniards came. And they shared a lot of cultural traits. The Aztecs learned a lot of things from cultures before them. And the Maya calendars, in a lot of ways, it's hard to figure them out because all we have are some inscriptions on stone. But whereas the Aztecs were able to explain to the Spaniards how they worked, the Spaniards could ask them questions, they could write down things, and so we have a little better understanding of Aztec calendars. Now, the people in Mesoamerica were actually nuts about calendars. They had many calendars. I'm only listing 4 here. There's probably about, I don't know how many calendars. More than 10 calendars in lots of different cultures. And there's a 260-day ritual calendar, an annual calendar, a calendar round, and these 3 were shared by the Aztecs, the Mayas, and many other groups. The Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Zapotecs, and lots of others I won't even mention. And then there's the 4th calendar, it's called the long calendar. Now the Maya developed this, and this is the one which has significance in the year 2012. So how do these calendars work? They were all cyclical. That's one of the most important points. These calendars cycle. They went through a cycle and repeated themselves. 260-day calendar had 20-day names and 13 numbers. And they sort of interlock with one another. And so you start with one rabbit there. When's it going to go back to one rabbit again? After 260 days, 13 times 20. So this is we call this the ritual calendar because various ceremonies were gauged by this. The day you were born, your birthday, if you get the date in the ritual calendar, that's your name. That's an alternative name. Okay, so you could also call me 11 Dog, if you want. My students probably like to do that. There's a website now. You go to the Aztec calendar website and it'll tell you, what the day is in the Aztec calendar, what your birthday is. I also did the marriage prognostication. You take your birth date and your spouse's birth date and see whether the tradition is good or bad. We came out all right, and we're still going after 30 years. So, the calendar round. Well, they had an annual calendar that was 18 months of 20 days plus 5 extra days to bring it to 365. Okay, that's to keep track of the year. And they had a very accurate reckoning of the solar year. And they knew about putting in leap years, putting in extra days every 4 years, and even beyond that. But if you take the 260-day ritual calendar and the annual calendar, and you run them together with years, okay, sort of like what I just did with the 260-day calendar, how long does it take to repeat? Turns out it takes 52 years. 52 years for this calendar round to repeat itself. Now, in Aztec mythology, the world has been created several times in the past. We're now in the 5th creation. The world was created, there were people and stuff going around, and then the gods didn't like it, so they destroyed it. They sent floods, they sent jaguars to eat people up, they did all kinds of things. And now we're in the 5th creation, and we're going to be destroyed too. And when's it going to happen? At the end of a 52-year cycle. Which one? Well, that's what you don't know. What happens at the end of the 52-year cycle? The end of those 5 extra days at the end of the last year, everybody puts out their fires, they throw out all their household possessions, which is what this is showing. They're throwing out all their household goods. And they wait around, and the priests look up at the sky, the astronomers, and if the Pleiades rises, that's a signal the sun's going to rise. We're set for another 52 years. Now, it just so happened, when I was an undergrad, I was taking a course in the Aztecs, And one of our tasks was to bring the Aztec calendar up to the present. Now today you just go on the internet and bingo, you push a button and you got it. Well then we were calculating out by hand and leap years and Gregorian and Julian and all this stuff. And we turned out that that was the end of the 52-year cycle. During the semester we were studying the Aztec. So we had a big blowout party, end of the world party, imagine, we think a century, that's, New Year's is a big deal, we have a party. And when you have to a new 100 years, a century, that's even a bigger party. Well, we had a big party in college, 52 years, but we were safe. Okay, so that means you're safe for another 52 years after that. Anyway, this is one of these diagrams showing the 260-day calendar on this side, the annual calendar on this side, and 52 years. So, in the Aztec calendar, today's date is 8 Blizzard. Okay, it's 16 Rain Festival is the date in the annual calendar. 8 Blizzard is the ritual calendar. The last one ended in 1975. That's when we had our big party. So until 2027, you're safe, according to the Aztecs. Okay, now the Mayas had this calendar, but it wasn't lined up. We don't know how the Maya 52-year cycle lined up with the Aztec. We haven't figured out. Now what about the Maya? They had a hieroglyphic system. It was a full writing system. Anything you could say in Maya, you could write in Maya hieroglyphs. And they had a system of the long count dates, which they recorded on stone monuments, have an introducing glyph, and then had 5 glyphs. Okay, here would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those would have a number. And we represent these with 5 numbers here, 8, 12, 14, 8, 15. I think that was the one you just saw. Okay, that means 8 baktuns. Well, let's start with the keen. Keen is a day. The Nuino is 20 days. A tun is 18 months. Katun is 20 tuns. And a baktun is 20 katuns. Okay? So every 144,000 days, you change to a new baktun. Okay? This was 8, 12, 14, 8, 15. That's when the particular Mayan monument was put up. What's today? Today is 12, 19, 18, 9, 5. Okay? Now, with the base 20 numbering system, we're getting close to the end of the cycle here. And this is what's going to happen in 2012. We're going to get to 12, 19, 17, 19, 19. And then it's going to change over to 13, 0, 0, 0, 0. It's like the odometer on your car. You get to